Okay, so I really like this video, so I thought I would make a reaction to this video. It seems like a really good video. And I already watched it, so it's no surprise reaction like last time or anything, thankfully. So here we go.
I was editing a young millennial's work, her essay work, and she spelled heart like Kevin, and I was just like, "What is this?" And she was just like, "What? None of my peers can spell. None of us spell." And she was just basically like, it's a norm. So I'm just like, if you can't spell, that means you probably don't do a whole lot of reading. Anyhow, the Andre Walker hair typing system is also known as, the hair chart. It's a classification system for hair types. It was created in the 1990s. Andre Walker is famous because, well, one, because of that hair typing system going crazy viral, but also he was Oprah Winfrey's hairstylist. So when you see all that long, strong hair on Oprah Winfrey's head, that is due in large part to Andre Walker. I don't know if he's still with her now, but I know by the time Chris Rock was doing that Good Hair documentary, Andre Walker was still with Oprah, as far as I know. Now, the hair typing system, Andre created this originally just to market his line of hair care products because he had different products that you could use for different types of hair. High porosity, low porosity, what kind of kink or curl or coil do you have? Buy this product based on what kind of hair you have. Now, in that original book by Andre Walker that all these Gen Z kids don't even know that they're quoting, he never included, and let me get rid of my little emblem here, my little logo. He never included 4C. The OG original hair typing system went from type 1A to 4B. There was type 1C even.
Yeah, that makes a bit of sense to me why they would do that because when I heard about 4C hair, I really thought that that was really rare, honestly, because like I think of like in my family and things of that nature, no one in my family that I know of has 4C hair. Like I think everyone in my family has either 3C, there might be a few that have 3B, but generally it's 3C, 4A, and then 4B, you know. And I think many of us have like a combination between 4A and 4B as well. We don't all just have like one specific hair type. You could be a combination of 3B and 4A or 3C and 4B or whatever. But yeah, going to continue now.
This hair typing chart is wrong. It is absolutely wrong. You see, there's a 1 here. You see, there's a 2A here, 2B, 2C, 3A, 3B, 3C. Everything has an A, B, C except for type 4. Type 4 was just 4A, 4B. Okay? That's it. That's all it was hitting for. Now, we, the people, added 4C. The reason 4C wasn't added to the book because it's such a rare hair type, even for Africans and African.
Well, yeah, it kind of makes sense too because being completely honest with you, in society, many of the time when you're around certain people, they kind of act like 4A and 4B hair serve for the kinkiest and tightest types of hair. Then they'll act like basically like curly is like 3B, really. 3C they might, but really it's just 3B and 3A really that are really considered curly. And then like wavy tends to start somewhere around 2B or a little straighter than that, like 2A. And I'm talking about people who aren't black usually see it that way. From my experience. And when I say aren't black, I'm talking about white people and not just white people. There's like Hispanic people and mixed people. Many of the time they act like basically 4A and 4B are basically one and the same and that we just basically both have like kinky hair. Honestly, from my perspective, I don't really pay attention to the difference between 4A and 4B hair. I'm gonna insert a photo of my strand, and it's gonna be blurry because I don't know, it's just one thin strand. I don't really have thick strands, so I don't know if anyone can see it, but I'm gonna insert the photo just so you can see it. That's my hair, 4A hair, completely natural and everything. But I just wanted to show it to basically show that you like they say that there's supposed to be a defined curl, but it's to me 4A hair is very shape shifty. It depends on what is going on with it. If you don't do anything to it, it might look like a whole 4C. And then other times it could look like a whole straighter texture altogether. Like sometimes I don't really see a curl pattern. Sometimes I do. It depends on what I did to my hair. But yeah, continuing.
Americans. It's rare because there is no curl pattern. Even this image, I see why they chose it, but it's wrong because I can still see ringlets here. 4B and 4C are Z patterns. So you see how 2C kind of has an S shape curl? And basically, can you see the letter S or the letter C in your hair? So if you look close enough, like, all the 3s to 4A, you can see the letter C. Like you can chop up this strand and make the letter C if you want to. And that's the point. That's a curl or a coil. 4B and 4C are specifically kinks. It's kinky hair. 4C is exclusively kinky. 4B is kinky coily. 4A is coily curly. That's it, and that's all. I also see that you.
Yeah, I do understand that, but I do think that 4A is 4A really is it really coily or because then what is 3C? And if you're saying that they're the same hair type, there's this thing with 4A hair that's confusing because 4A hair often has two different looks on it. Like you'll see one that looks much more like 3C, and then you'll see another that isn't really like 3C anymore. It's more like an afro, basically. Basically, you know how 3C honestly falls a lot more. I would say, 4A hair, when you're a good telltale sign to see if you have 4B hair, 4C hair, or 4A hair is shrinkage, I think. At least that's how I always defined it. Because from what I've heard, 4C hair, they shrink all the way down to 90% of their hair length, basically. So they shrink all the way down to 10%, basically. Now, someone who has 4B hair shrinks about 70 to 75%. Now, if you are someone who has a shrinkage of around 60%, like my hair, then you're basically no longer 4C, 4A, 4C or 4B, but you're more 4A. But the thing is, okay, there's different levels to the shrinkage, I think, going on. Because I've seen some 4A, and they really don't look like they're shrinking much. They seem like their hair's falling down. Their hair's just kind of like, into curls, kind of like ringlet situation going on. Maybe a bit tighter than a 3C, basically. But personally, 4A can also be hair that kind of like stands on its own kind of thing, and then you can do things to maneuver it so then it actually falls down. Like you could, when you water your hair, of course it turns wavy. If you put a product in it, be it oil, be it gel, be it anything, it falls down basically. The thing is, though, with 4A hair, it's not really celebrated, honestly, in its full entirety, I don't think. I think that 4A hair is looked at as sometimes, well, I don't feel it's celebrated. Let's just say that, because I feel like 3C is kind of like the idea for black women, where that type of hair type is celebrated. Now, among other races, it's more like 3A, 2C, that region, because you'll see a lot of mixed people who are 3B and 3C who had to learn to love their hair as it was, because in their communities, they didn't experience the embracement of their hair type, when there were 3B and a 3C. So it depends on who's really looking at that type of hair type. But point is, I don't think 4A is celebrated, honestly. I think it kind of gets confused for other hair types, especially in the natural state where it's just kind of like, not maneuvered really. Going forward,
They probably use this picture for 4C because of how much shrinkage this girl has. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if this girl straightened her hair and it was past her shoulders, right? So I'm going to try to go to this photo and see if it does any better. It's a little better, but they're using weave.
the lady on the end, honestly, to me, I don't think she has a lot of shrinkage. To me, that much hair would fall below the shoulder, but that doesn't look like 4C hair to me, because I've seen people who have 4C hair with their shrinkage, and when it falls below their shoulder, it's not like that. It's like really, really, really short. Like, you don't really see their hair much, basically, until you like straighten it, and then it kind of like falls below the shoulder. So, yeah, I don't know. To me, I don't know on this chart where my hair would fall. I kind of don't see. My thing is, I don't really see the difference between 4A, 4B, and 4C. To me, they all look the same. Now, I see a difference with 3C and beyond that, but I don't see any difference between the four hair types. I really don't.
And using weave is a great way to F up this hair typing system. So only the type 4s have real hair. I wish that the type 3 and the type 2, and even, there's a white girl in type 1. There probably should be, an Asian in there, white girl, because there's coarse, there's fine, and this manipulates the types. But if you look at the 4C,
I don't know. Is that fake hair? No, the straight hair right there, to me, the one hair with the black girl, I wouldn't assume that was fake hair at all. I've seen plenty of my relatives, when they have their hair straightened, it looks like that. So why would I assume that's a weave? And like the two, I don't know, especially the three. To me, the three doesn't look fake to me, but I don't know. I'm not really good at telling whether someone's wearing fake hair or not, so I don't know.
By the word Afro stretch here. So, not the type 4 kinky coily on the top girl, but the one that's like the third image beneath her. You can see that you can barely see a curl pattern, and that's the point. Because there is no curl pattern, there's a Z pattern. It's a zigzag pattern. It's extremely fragile hair, and it needs to be moisturized daily. It's the most dry hair type that exists, even of the type 4s. I have type 4A hair.
I don't really understand that, though. If someone could please explain to me this, because people associate the dryness of the hair with the curl pattern. This is confusing to me, because it's like, I think my hair is straighter than my mother's. My hair is very dry, extremely dry. And yes, very, very, very delicate. But my mother's hair is actually much, it's not much tighter, it's a bit tighter. More than tight, though, it's thicker. You know, a major thing that I thought I understood with the ABC was that A is thinner, B is thicker, right? So I always thought that's why hers was closer to a 4B because it's thicker and a little bit tighter, I guess. Um, but she definitely has a lot of more moisture to her hair, while mine actually is very dry. I wouldn't think either of us are 4C though. That's why I always find it weird why people always say 4C hair is so delicate. I see people with 4C hair. Goodness, they have the shit hair, okay? Like, that's the shit, okay, in my opinion. Because 4C hair is like so thick and big. When they do like locks, when they do braids, when they do anything with their fucking hair, that hair is just like so big. It got so many strands with that hair. It's like so much volume, you know? So to me, I always find it weird why people say that it's so weak. I don't know how it works, but I'm just curious about that cuz I'm like, how is it so weak but it's also so thick? You know? And to me, it's always been problematic to me because people have this hair care idea with 4A hair. And it's like, to me, it's never really worked out for me because it's like the ideas that people have for 4A hair doesn't really make sense to me because it's like they'll say, like, you need less moisture. And it's like, well, that's definitely not the case. I need a lot more moisture, you know. Um, Hair retainment is a major thing for me. I do need a lot of hair retainment. Um, so to me, I mean, like, you know, but then at the same time, when I see 4C hair, honestly, it looks like there's a lot of different, like, their result is so nice. Like, because they have such thick, big hair. But yeah, I don't know. Continuing.
I am a hair twin or a hair knockoff for Natural 85. I don't know if you know who Whitney White is, but you should. Oh, let me type in Whitney White.
Yeah, I'm subscribed to Natural 85 actually. She's really good with different hair care advice and things of that nature. I like her channel. So, continuing.
She's one of the best to have ever done it, and I know the moment that I share her with you, you're gonna see me, and that's the point. I mean, people are just kind of self-proclaiming, a hair typing system, their hair type, and part of that, I mean, I understand because I self-diagnosed as well, but after seeing a sister loctician, right, I had to see because I wanted to get my hair locked. When I went to go see a sister loctician, she was like, you are a 3C for a blend. I did not know that. I had.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's different types of 4A hair. There's a lot of people who claim 4A, but they have a lot more of the 4C strand. And you can see that, honestly, I would say that with Uppity and Natural, they both do have, you can see a lot more curls. Their hair falls a bit more downward. And it just seems like they don't really have much of the shrinkage, But I think there's a different way to care for hair that has 3C hair in it rather than a hair type that has 4A hair and maybe even some tendencies towards the 4B tendencies as far as environment. Maybe you might have a curl pattern, but you still have, like, for example, more dryness, or your shrinkage might be more in between the two. You might have a little bit more shrinkage than, say, someone with 3C or some 3C hair type, while you might have more, like, complete 4A hair might have like more shrinkage, basically, you know. So that's why it gets difficult with this hair typing to me, because there's so many different aspects to it. Someone could have pure 4A hair, someone could have 4A with some 4C, someone else could have, 3B and 4A at the same time. So the hair is going to look very different each and every time. So then when people are talking about hair care, it's so many different ways to go about this. To me, I tend to watch 4C hair more often, but just don't focus on the styles they do, because style wise, their styles are better for them because they have so much hair and it's so thick and big. You know, the only girl that is a bit 4C, somewhat 4C, she's really just 4B, but she has some 4C tendencies. Star Puppy. I like her hair tutorials often because her hair isn't as big, but it's still very big at the same time. Big compared to mine, at least. So continuing.
To learn. And when you tell Gen Z the same thing, you have to learn, there's such a level of hostility. And it's just like, the reason you have to learn is because you got chicks walking around here. Even you got type 3 girls, because the type 3 girls kicked the type 4 girls out of the hair movement that they started. Everybody was watching Taryn Guy when Kimmy Tube built this, when Shima 21 built this, when Chime Edwards built this. There's so many new girls to the game, but if you're going back to YouTube 2006, 7, 8, 9, bro, forget it. Forget it. Your favorite wasn't there. She was not there. Look, she's showing you her hair just straight after being washed, and then of course, this looks like a twist out or a wash and go. I hair does all of this. I actually low-key look like Whitney White. But I mean, basically, she and my connection to her is, one, because we did our big chop at the same time. And every time she uploaded a video, our hair was the same length. And then we've had these big chops in between after starting our natural hair journey, whatever. And now let me go back to Whitney. I only want Whitney photos. Same kind of hair. And I mean, there were times where she messed it up and I messed up my hair too. And we would do these big chops. We even got pregnant at the same time. So I have a very...
I'll skip that part out.
from 4C hair, but there's a difference. There's a difference in how we are treated. And we can't gaslight people about the discrimination they face because of texturism.
Oh no, Raz.
And when you sit with your little 4A, 4B hair like me and Whitney and decide to call it 4C, you're gaslighting people out of their experiences. This type hair...
I think, honestly, for me, I try to pay attention to what works for me. So even if that person doesn't have my hair type, it's best to follow someone who is 4C, because if they have better tips, then it's better to follow them than someone who's already got a lot of moisture in their hair, for example. Someone who has thick, fuller hair because they have, say, 3C hair in their hair type. And you have to understand that C hair is a lot less fine than, say, someone who has 4A hair, basically. So the different things that someone will do with 3C hair is not really viable for someone with 4A hair. And this is why, usually, for example, if someone can see my hair pattern, my hair curl pattern, someone would think my hair is actually on the softer, finer end. But seeing my hair completely unbraided, you can see that my hair is more, I guess, closer to a 4A, that's not like this, basically, like 3C-ish type. So, I mean, like, I think we would have different experiences anyway on that level, too.
Hair, this 4A hair, that is the Negro hair white people can't seem to keep their hands out of. They might let a mixed chick get past. They might let you pass if you've got a type 2. They might not even notice your hair. You've got a type 3. Maybe they might get a little jealous, but they still see you as a human. But there's something about that 4A that makes white people very grabby. I've watched Whitney almost burst into tears talking about how white women have gone for her scalp, saying shit like, "Oh, my husband always lets me touch the curly girl's hair." Your husband is your husband. He doesn't own my body. But you can look at Whitney's hair and imagine that people kind of fixate on it, right? I'm telling you that.
Yeah, her hair is beautiful. It's like hair girls, honestly. Well, I mean, for people who can get like really big, curls like that, that's cool.
Does not always happen with 4C hair. 4C hair is the hair you get tossed out for. 4C hair is how you get the word dread and dreadlock. So you shouldn't be walking around here with all this 4A hair talking about you have some damn 4C hair when theirs is a struggle, hard earned. That is my point.
I don't know about that one because, in my experience, it's always seemed like this. There's different levels to this shit, and also, it's more problematic when you live on the borderline than when you live on the interiors. Reason why that is because then you get to see life out of both sides, basically. And also, it's a big insult when someone says your hair can't just be as it is and you have to put some kind of product in it to make it look a little bit less, tight, basically. To me, it's just like, that's insulting in itself. You can say that, oh, you could do something to maneuver it to make it look a little bit more curly. But why does a person have to? That's my thing. It's like, why should I have to make my hair look more like 3 hair? Even if it is easy for it to be accomplished with, washing it and oiling it and so forth. But that doesn't mean that I should have to do that. What if honestly, like, someone could actually just have hair that looks closer to 4B hair, 4C hair, you know? That should be okay as well. And, to be pushed to have a certain hair type to be acceptable is not fair or right, you know? This is a major reason for me why I constantly try to actually not push my hair to look always like, 3 hair. Because it's like, if you don't naturally have 3 hair, why should I try and mimic something I don't naturally have? Why can't I embrace what I naturally have? And, I think this is because I grew up with my mother's side and they honestly embraced their natural curl pattern more, at least to the extent where, seeing natural hair texture, be it like, in one regard or another, was not a bad thing. Changing one's hair texture for a different look is fine, people do that all the time, but having it one way or having it a certain way where you must have it as 3 hair, it's just like, to me, invalidating. But continue.
Because when it comes to the Crown Act, that's who we're really fighting for. We're fighting for the 4C people. And when you sit up there with your type 4A, 3C, whatever, you minimize their struggle and make it so that it doesn't. Well, what do you mean? Well, I could style I've got the same hair you've got, and I could just style it like this. So what's your problem? Why can't you? Why do you look so unkempt? Well, because it's not the same damn hair type, is it?
No, but that is all of a bad mindset, basically. Because those are the same types of people. Honestly, I want to be completely honest on this. I've had plenty of times where I was at work, had black women come up to me, tell me I need to straighten my hair, I need to relax my hair. If I don't do that, I need to put on a weave or a wig. They specifically, I think, said wig because I mean, like you still see my hair type, with weave, I think. But anyway, basically, they said you had to basically not show your natural hair texture. That was the main issue they had, and in fact, they almost acted like, I mean, I've had people talk like, oh, she's not even supposed to be having that hair type. Literally heard that at work. And act like, what's wrong with her hair? Why is her hair that tight? Or why is she not doing something to change your hair texture or whatever? You know. So to me, I mean, like, I kind of feel like this idea of trying to say that black women should be free to have their hair texture, the natural curl that we have, should be embraced for all of us. Be it the 4Cs, the 4Bs, the 4As, all three hair types honestly have an aspect that is not acceptable to a lot of the public, you know. And this is not just white people. Honestly, in my experience, many of the time it's black people. In the three situations I was talking about, they were specifically black people. One of the times where the person said that I wasn't even supposed to have the hair type I have specifically put me on break, production manager away, basically, which is break. And basically told me that I needed to basically wear some kind of hair straightener or like a wig or something to hide the hair texture I had. So I mean, like, it's not just white people, honestly. In fact, I never had anything said to me by white people. Now, I would say that in many cases, these people might find black people who have a certain phenotype of hair type as less inviting, you know, and may be more likely to isolate. Things of that nature, true. But I'm just saying who was most vocal about it actually was black women. And one time, a black man to another black woman. I'm not sure who started the conversation in that situation. So, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say that that's specifically to white people even. But I do agree that, you know, embracing the hair pattern, the natural hair pattern for all black women, you know, should be embraced. I mean, like, white people just come out with their natural hair texture. Is anyone saying, why did you just come out like that? You know, you came out with straight, flat hair. You're offending everybody, you know. Nobody does that. But the problem is, I think, is because too many people try to mimic their hair texture, so then everybody normalizes their hair texture. If we set the standard, then it wouldn't be that way. Maybe we could turn the tables around and maybe it could be straight, flat hair. Walking out the door was just straight, flat hair. It's just kind of like, why didn't you do anything to your hair, you know, to make it a little bit more curly and lively, you know? Just saying. Continuing.
Is it? Even if we're both black with two black ass parents, it's not the same. I'm going to try to pull you up some actual 4C hair. And 4C hair has become hard to find, in part because all these little kids are on the internet filling up filling up the searches for 4C hair. So now a whole entire, who's gonna tell her? That's not 4C hair. This is on that.
That looks like 3B, that looks like a 4A, 3B mixture. Honestly, I can't tell this hair type from Uppity's hair type. It looks kind of similar to it. It looks thickish, a little bit more thick, honestly. Might have a little bit more of the C in it than A, I would think. It doesn't look very fine to me. But continuing.
Curly.com. I see a curl pattern. That's not 4C hair. Who's gonna tell her? They're populating all the searches, and so you would think that that's what to look for. Keep it a buck. You see this 4A? That's not 4A hair. That
doesn't look like 4A hair either to me. Honestly, my hair does not look like that. It does not look like that at all.
3C. This exactly. Is a 4A. Now hear me out, because I think they might have gotten 4C correct, because I do see a Z pattern here.
From the 4B to the 4C, to me, I would say kind of the 4B, but a little tighter, I think, than that. I can't really see on this thing, though. But that other one, to me, was definitely, I see that all the time, those 4As that look like that. And to me, And to me, it's just like really weird, because it's like, I have a hard time telling what is the 3B, what is the 3C, and what is the 4A, because they look basically the same. Continuing.
Head of what we're talking about when we say 4C. Can we stop bullshitting? Can we stop? This girl.
That's what I mean. That hair right there, to me, looks very thick and like it looks like it's very strong. That's why I never understand why people say it's so delicate. It doesn't look delicate to me. It looks like she has so much hair. Okay, so when my hair is long, my hair never is like that, basically. It's not thick. You know what I mean? My hair is basically less hair than that. So it could be the same length, but it would still not be the same mass, basically.
Right here, hers is the largest photo. This is a perfect example of a 4C head. You don't see a curl anywhere. You don't see a curl anywhere. What you think might be a curl is called a kink.
But that's another thing. You see how 4C hair stands up like that? 4A hair does not stand up completely like that, but it doesn't fall down completely like hers either. That's why hers is a combination of 3C and 4A. It's almost like a mid thing. It's like, you know how you get like a fro, but it's not really a fro, it's like a midway fro kind of thing, I guess you could say. But yeah, at least in my experience.
She has
come on, get up.
Hair.
Get up, girl. Are you okay?
When it comes to type 4 hair, you can have curly, coily, or kinky hair. Type 1, 2, 3. That is type 4 hair. Me, I can slick my hair back and whoop-de-whoop, whoop, whoop, and in compliments, and people want to pet me. Her, people will probably call her dirty or disgusting, or I don't want her cooking my food, I don't want her hair to fall into it, blah, blah, blah. Like, discrimination. Kicked out of the army, not hired, blah, blah, blah. Because even when she does her hair, it still has that texture. Now, of course, if she wants a silk press, and she can do whatever with that. But this is 4C.
To me, I don't know. Like, I think that can apply though to 4A hair too, because with 4A hair, if you don't say you don't slick your hair back with certain products, basically. Say you just went with like moisturize your hair, wash your hair, go. And plus, well, I won't even talk about that, but just say you did that. You're going to basically still get the same reaction because you didn't conform. You gotta conform to the 3C, 3B hair. You have to at least conform to a 3C hair pattern. That's what people ask for basically with 4A hair. Now, can 4A hair turn into 3C hair? Well, hell yeah, it's very easy for it to happen, with the right product, but still it's not its natural curl pattern. The natural curl pattern for a true 4A is going to still be tighter than a 3C, and you're going to feel it in society. You're going to be treated like you should have done something to your hair. And it's, to me, annoying because it's like, why is it that I need to do something with my hair, but a white person just walks out with their hair just naturally and it's a-okay? We did the same thing. I just have a different hair pattern, but I'm supposed to get some kind of product to make my hair look like it's curly simply because it's what society says is the bare minimum, basically, that you can have and still be acceptable. And if you think of it, that's very Eurocentric centered because honestly, that's based on the whole idea that white people, generally their hair type ends at around a 3C. Like that's as curly as it gets, is a 3C, basically. And so, I think that's why many black people are encouraged to get to at least a 3C, because that's where you're at least passable and okay, basically. So continuing.
What that is clear. And I just kind of fatigued because I'm just like, I'm so tired of talking to people about. I mean, because originally I never meant to get into this sector. I always meant to be in like hair or ASMR. I ended up getting into this sector trying to defend my name. But like, if you look at this, wow, even this system is kind of jammed up. A lot of this stuff is wrong, and I'm just like, just pick up Andre Walker's book. This is a 4C. Okay, this is 4C here. Do you kind of see what I'm getting at here when I say the driest, most fragile hair type? It's the hardest.
Yeah, I don't see how it's fragile, though. I understand that people say it's dry. But as a person with very, 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 very dry hair, I don't see how that defines them really, because it's like I understand that they have a very tight hair pattern and they have a hair pattern that tends to shrink a lot, but the dryness to me is weird because it's like, well, you can have dry hair and other hair types too. So I don't go by that. But to me, I don't really see how or why people say that it's fragile when it's so thick. I mean, they have such big hair. It's beautiful. There's nothing against having big hair. I mean, if you have hair, and who wants to have less hair? You know what I mean? To me, that's a good thing that they have a lot of hair, that they have thick hair, that they have big hair. Anyone shaming them for that is just simply jealous. But yeah, I don't get how it's fragile. It looks like it's big and like strong and beautiful to me.
hair to keep long. Oh, I know. What's their names? The Bush Babes. Okay, here we go. I don't know who the pale girl is, but the Bush Babes are twins. And these are twins with type 4C hair. And it is a miracle that their hair is so long. And everybody thinks these are weaves. People are always trying to pet them, but probably because it's so damn long that it can't be anything but glorious. I mean, the hair is so damn long, it can't be anything but.
I see 4C hair though that's long. I never understand why people act like it can't grow long. I don't know, that's just weird to me. I don't know what my mother's family's hair is, but I swear their hair is not any 3C hair type. I would say it's either my hair type, maybe a bit tighter, maybe to 4B, but their hair is massive, okay? Like long, massive, just extreme, basically. So I never understand why people assume that, 4C hair can't grow. To me, honestly, I think it comes with the whole idea that people think black people's hair can't grow, but I don't think that has to do with being black or having ethnic hair or anything. I think it just has to do with people maybe not knowing how to take care of their hair and having different hair types than another person and things of that nature. Continuing.
Glorious. But you see how their hair, these are not dreads on this twin, on the bigger twin. You can see that, it's not on this twin, but you see how there's not a curl in sight. Now the hair will naturally clump together like your hair does when you have a darn curl pattern that isn't, 3A or anything beyond 3A. These girls, you don't see a curl anywhere. You see a Z pattern. It's not an S pattern. You know how people say, oh, she ain't got an S curl, right? Because those curls look like the letter S. And when they're tighter, they look like the letter C. If you were to zoom in on these girls' hair, you would just see you'd see a zigzag. You would see what sounds like a bee flying. Look, it's glorious, it's incredible, it's magical hair, but people are trying to be unicorns. Part of the reason Andre Walker did not include 4C in his book is because it's so rare. And now everybody's claiming it. And I'm just like, everybody can't claim the struggle of 4C people, so stop.
Yeah, I've always seen 4C hair as a rare hair type, honestly, because I never was really familiar with anyone who didn't have a curl pattern in their hair. I do find it different though. People say 4B hair doesn't have a curl pattern, which is weird because I'm like, I definitely have closeness to 4B hair type. My hair constantly has an S, or I guess you could say a C pattern. It depends on if my hair is stretched out a bit. It can look a little bit more like an S curl, but then other times it kind of just looks like a C. Like if I just wake up, for example, it's gonna look like a C. If I wash my hair, oiled it, and put it up, it's definitely gonna look like an S. If I don't put it up and I just let it go free, it's probably still gonna be like an S in between S to C. Anyway, but I didn't know anyone could not have a curl pattern without the S or the C curls, you know. So, I mean, I hear people say it's rare to have 4C hair, but 4B hair isn't rare to have. But I see people say that 4B hair doesn't have a curl pattern. I don't see how it doesn't. To me, I I would think it does. I'm pretty sure everyone in my family has a curl pattern, and I think some of my family might fall into the 4B category, possibly. So I don't really get that. If anyone can answer that question.
Stop. Every black girl is not the black girl who's getting thrown out of class for her hair. You're not. Stop. Stop. Every black boy is not the black boy being forced to cut off his dreads in order to have his win because he was wrestling and there was a racist coach who called his hair a uniform violation. So stop. Stop claiming to be them so we can give them what is theirs, so that they can have the changes that they need and that they seek. Anytime you claim somebody's struggle when you really don't have it, you are gaslighting them out of the fact that their reality is real, that their lived experiences are real. That's the real reason why it's important not to perpetrate. That's the real reason why you better lay low when you're claiming somebody else's set and you ain't really from their gang. That's not really you, and you don't know what kind of price people paid for that.
Well, I kind of feel like though there's a struggle for all types of hair types between the four hair type. But I feel like with her, she's already said she has 3C hair. It's going to be very different of an experience when you have 3C hair than you have 4A hair. They're different hair types. If you have some 3C hair, people will see the 3C hair and see that as more acceptable than someone who just has 4A hair and possibly even some affinities towards 4B hair. It's a difference, you know. So to me, I mean, like, the experience is going to be different there. Now, these people, many of these people are 3C in hair type. So I have found that, though, that sometimes people will act like they have, basically a 4C hair type. And I'd be very confused because I'd be like, your hair is definitely looser than mine. So if yours is 4C, what the fuck am I? But I've seen that happen, and it's very confusing when things like this happen because no one really gets, what real 4 hair looks like, be it 4A, 4C, or 4B for that matter. When 3C is acting like 4C hair, it leaves no room for the rest of us, for sure. So, I mean, like, that type of representation is definitely misrepresentation when it comes to hair type.
I can show up in the world looking like I've got wavy hair. I mean, in some regard, I do. I can show up in the world looking like what do you mix to it? Because I have type 4.
But you shouldn't have to. That's the thing. To me, it's like I shouldn't have to try to look like I have 3C hair. I shouldn't have to do that. I should be allowed to just look how I naturally look. My hair is 4 hair. It might not be 4C hair, but I should be allowed to have my hair in its natural 4A state without people telling me that I need to straighten it, that I need to do anything to it. I shouldn't have to do anything to my hair. It should just be like a white person who walks out with straight hair. Because that's what it basically is. It's my hair type. It's my natural hair type. I shouldn't be forced to put gel, put oil, put moisturizer. Well, moisturizer, of course. But I mean, like, you get what I'm saying. Anything to do with a curl definer in my hair, I don't need to do that. I can choose to do that, but I shouldn't be forced to do that. When you see how people treat you and they act like you must conform to something, it makes you less likely to want to conform because people are acting like you can't be, your natural self. And then it's like you want to push back from that and be like, fuck no, of course I want to be myself. I want to be my natural self. And if you don't like it, you can kiss my ass. So continue.
Or type C hair. It's not the same as being a 4C. So I made this video because I'm not going to, just to leave this here as a reference. I mean, YouTube is an app, but it's also a search engine, much like Google. So I'm just going to leave this here for the knowledge, for the people who actually care to understand and to get it.
Yeah, I like that. Just specifying the true 4C hair types is really helpful. I mean, specifying 4 hair in itself is good because there is so much mix up these days. Eventually, we're going to have it where people are basically saying 1 hair is 3C hair and 2A hair is 4A hair. So, I mean, like, I am definitely not for that erasure.
This is the most discriminated against hair type. Excuse me, the most discriminated against hair type is type 4 hair. But the most discriminated, like type 4C is the black people of 4C hair. You know how we say redheads are the black people of white people and they're brunette?
I don't like to think of it that way. I never like to think of black people of something as the bad people or the negative people or the people who are treated badly. Why fit the frame of black people being inferior or less than? I never want to do that. If anything, why would that benefit me to see black people negatively or like the lesser people of a group? Black people aren't the lesser people of a group. If that was the case, then how come Nigerians and many African immigrants are doing way better than any white Americans? Just saying. And that's no knock at white Americans. I'm just pointing that out. If they are so much better, I mean, you should be able to beat every African that comes here, but you can't. Financially, academically, or even, in any other regard of success. So, continuing.
Are the mixed people of white people and blonde-haired, blue-eyed people are the white people of white people. Yeah, this is how that goes in the reverse. Let's quit playing. Let's quit playing. Let's stop playing in people's faces. It's disrespectful. I will never stand in the mirror with a 4C hair woman and act like I've had the same exact struggles when I haven't. Even though I just got done talking about a story of how, oh, you look like you got in a fight with an electrical socket and lost. Whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, I went through that. Yeah, I went through that. But it's not the same. It's not the same. I would hate for somebody to come to me talking about they can relate to my story, in my childhood when I was damn near 6 foot at 10 years old.
To me, I kind of feel like the experience she's talking about has to do with women with big curls, but not specifically women who have small curls specifically. People who have smaller curls would not get those type of comments. Expecting everyone of a certain hair type to have the same experience is kind of incorrect, I think. At least you can tell from this whole situation. Me, I'm for a hair type. My experience isn't anything of the nature where I was told anything like what she just said. My experience would actually honestly fall more along the lines of what she was saying with 4C hair women. Because my hair visibly looks like kinky hair. It might be curled, you might see curls in my hair. I have small curls, but it's still kinky. As opposed to, like her, she has basically big curls. It's going to be a different experience, and especially when you're told you're not supposed to have that hair type because people expect you to have a softer hair texture, possibly like a 3C in her case, or like a 3B, you know. So when you have hair that's actually tighter than that, and a hair type that is more like, anything in the 4 range, you get pressure that you aren't supposed to actually look that way naturally, and to fulfill a different type of an image that isn't even naturally yours. But yeah, continue.
with curves in a period, and what that was like as a child when it comes to being sexually assaulted regularly in public because you're a kid and you're defenseless. I would hate for somebody. I'm like, dude, you were flat chested until you got into high school. I don't want to hear this. You didn't get no ass until you had a kid. I don't want to hear this.
That's weird because the whole puberty thing is a little weird to me because I'm like, what age did she just say? That didn't seem old to me. Wait, let me hear that again.
I would hate for somebody to come to me talking about they can relate to my story, in my childhood when I was damn near 6 foot at 10 years old with curves in a period. And
10 is young? How is 10 young to be going through puberty? I don't get that. I don't know. My mother went through puberty at 10. Most of my family went through puberty at 10. I think that's an average age people go through puberty. I know for myself, I went through puberty at 6, so, I mean, I guess to me, that's not young at all, but, I've looked up the whole issue with puberty and precocious puberty, honestly, and, precocious puberty actually starts at around, um, it's kind of before 7. This is why I always was like, did I really have precocious puberty? Because I started right before I was 7, when I was 6 years old. So technically, I kind of had precocious puberty, and you can tell by other signs that I did actually have precocious puberty because, like, for example, there were other things that implied I had a heightened amount of testosterone in my system, um, body hair, and other things when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I think that was the age. My mother told me because I didn't remember. I remember the stuff that happened when I was 6. But it was hardly at all precocious puberty. As far as I've looked up about puberty, you start puberty at 10. That's not precocious. That's pretty average. Now, for a white person, I don't know, but for black people, that's pretty normal. Usually, we start puberty at around 8. That's why, for me, um, I remember my mother said that the doctors didn't want to stop anything or delay my puberty or anything because I basically was 7. And so to them, it was like, if I'm basically 7 and I'm black, 8-year-olds usually start puberty for black girls, So it wasn't that far off. If I was white, I would have actually been considered, I think, someone who started puberty precociously because I think it's 7 and under for them. For black women, it's 6 and under. So I guess either way you cut it, it's kind of like I did go through precocious puberty. But yeah, but I must say, I do relate to what she's saying about the whole thing of people basically treating you like an adult, basically, and people trying to hit on you and stuff. This is why my mother was very protective of me, because by the time I'm 8 and 9, I don't look 8 or 9. I look more like, I think, like 14, 15. And by the time I'm 12, I think I was like full, like I was really grown looking at that point. But anyway, um, but I don't think you know, I think honestly, I wouldn't say to her specifically that her experience was something that couldn't relate to me as someone who was going through puberty at 6 or 7. Even though I must say, that wasn't the main issue for me when I started puberty. Honestly, when I started puberty, I honestly felt a sense of I felt like I was, like a child trapped in an adult body. And that's why I had lack of identity towards being a grown body, basically. I would basically go to like the locker room, and I would feel so basically vulgar compared to the girls that were basically in the same locker room as me. It was just basically felt like I was something weird because I was so much bigger and everything. So anyway, I just always felt like an oddity, basically, at that point, You can't comprehend womanhood when you're only 6. Thank God I didn't have a period until I was 8, because I mean, when my mother tried to explain to me periods when I was 6 years old, and I remember ignoring what she was saying because I didn't even understand that I had a vagina at that age. Um, you know, when you're 6, you're not really exploring yourself like that. I mean, you're only 6, so I mean, like, yeah. So when I was like 6 and 7, my mother explained to me like periods and stuff, and I think she expected me to get a period at 7, and thankfully I didn't. And then when I was 8, I was so because I was dealing with the mental capacity of an 8-year-old, I could not comprehend that I was having my period for I think 2 months, possibly. I think it was 1 month and then it was 2 months, but it wasn't 2 months apart. It was like 1 month, I think was September, then it was November, then like no, that wasn't December. That was like the beginning of January, I think. And that's when I was like, something happened and I was confused because it was like it was too much at that point. But anyway, so I mean like when you're really young, you can't even comprehend puberty that's happening basically. I think that's why they call it precocious puberty and they try to delay it because person might not be able to mentally understand what is going on with um, puberty. Basically, you won't really be able to understand all that stuff at and second grade, first grade, and third grade. Technically, when I started puberty, yeah, I was no, I was in first grade. Yeah, but yeah, to me, I just was saying I definitely relate to that. Continuing, almost done.
What that was like as a child when it comes to being sexually assaulted regularly in public because you're a kid and you're defenseless. I would hate for somebody. I'm like, dude, you were flat chested until you got into high school. I don't want to hear this. You didn't get no ass until you had a kid. I don't want to hear this. You don't know what it was like. You don't know that pain, so don't claim it. With all due respect, the girl that I was talking to, beautiful girl, beautiful long hair, but 4C is not your struggle. You don't know nothing about that life. Stop it.
Oh, well, I like that video. That was a good video. Seriously. Yeah, I think I definitely agree with the representation of black women with 4 hair. So many people don't like to acknowledge it. People don't like to think of it sometimes. It's almost like it's something that's like vulgar, disgusting, or something to people. So they don't really like to think of people who have that type of hair type. And it's really nice that she was actually talking about how, there needs to be a sense of not erasing women who have 4 hair. But I do think that we do have different experiences in total with this whole situation. It's not specific, like, people don't just have like a hair type that is 4C. We're all going to experience the same thing. We don't even have the same hair care for that matter. I mean, like I said, my hair is very, very dry, and I'm 4A hair type. Someone else who's 4A hair, like I said, my mother has a hair type very similar to my own. Her hair has a lot of moisture. So to me, it's just like, people are different, and you can't really judge anyone off of their curl pattern to see how their life is or how to care for their hair or anything about their hair themselves. Life is more than a curl pattern. But I still do agree that, the visibility of floor hair really does need to be promoted. So, yeah, that's a great video, Uppity. Love this video. Gonna like it too. Oh, yeah, I already liked it. I wish I could like it again, but great video. That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, everybody, and have a great day. Bye.